Okay, welcome back. Unfortunately, this week I don't have a whole lot of progress on the S10. I had a bunch of unforeseen circumstances come up that prevented me from really having any time to work on the truck. I did hang a fender on it so I could have a look and see how it would fit. It'll need work too, is what I basically figured out. But I figured I'd at least give you some kind of video here. So we're gonna have a look at some of my Mopars. Even though I do have quite a few Chevys, much like my 93 Cheyenne, the 87 S10, and of course Dad's Camaro, and I've owned a few other Chevys and GMCs as well. Primarily, my interest in project cars and classic cars has been of the Chrysler persuasion. And on that note, primarily Plymouth cars. So because of the fact that I had to suddenly move a lot of the cars I own, we're going to take a look at them today. So these four are mine. Due to unforeseen circumstances, I unfortunately had to pull all four out of storage. But starting on the right, this is a 1969 Plymouth Fury III Convertible. And I purchased this car in 2012. And it was my first project car. Unfortunately, the car was kind of beyond what I could do at the time, and it ended up on the back burner as I collected parts. The car behind it is my 1985 Plymouth Caravelle Salon, and it's an AHB car, which was a police package, and it was a City of Windsor police cruiser. Car number 591 was its unit number. Now this car here is a 1969 Plymouth Sport Fury, two-door hardtop. And interestingly enough, it was built, or at least scheduled to be built, 2 days prior to the convertible, and both of them at Windsor plant. And finally, this car here, I purchased from a friend of mine, Dave Wheeler, and it's been featured in a prior video. And it is actually a 1970 Plymouth Fury two-door hardtop. It's a Fury 3 trim car. However, over the years, I've collected all the parts to be able to convert it to be a Sport Fury clone. Everything from the hood with signals to the hideaway headlights. As I mentioned, it was my first project car. And over the years, I put together an engine for it, which is not the engine I'll eventually run. But I rebuilt the suspension on it, I ran brake lines, and we repaired and painted the firewall, and did a lot of things that they need touched up or they need a little bit more done, but things that were accomplished, things that I learned from. I repaired the floors in the car at the time, which was some of the first welding and sheet metal work I did. And it was crude, but it's solid. I actually bead rolled and made that entire driver's floor pan. And it was the first one I had ever done. Now my 70 Fury, it was purchased as a roller with no engine or transmission, but it had a 440 in it at one point. Originally it's a 383 two-barrel automatic car. And I have a 440 I've been building to go into it. As you can see, I've got lots and lots of spare parts for it. The whole trunk's full as well. Now, what makes this car in particular special is I am the second owner, and the original owner special ordered this car. Very interesting man, and when I get to this car, I'll cover that more.
but it was last on the road in 1981. It has 51,000 miles on it. And it is a Sport Fury two-door hardtop. It originally was Jamaica blue with a white hand-painted pinstripe, a black vinyl top, and black bucket seat interior. As you can see, it's a console shift 727. And it's a power window car. In addition to being a power window car, it's a power disc brake car. And the car was ordered with an optional 323 gear in it. In addition to that, it also has something very interesting under the hood. Under the hood, this car is equipped with a 330 horsepower 383 Super Commando, which was a 10.5 to 1 compression, 906 headed, Carter AVS, carb, HP manifolds, dual snorkel air cleaner, etc. engine. So in reality, the car was a gentleman's hot rod, especially with that 323 gear. Now, like I said, it's a power disc brake car. It also has cruise control, power steering, etc. So it's pretty well optioned car. And I originally looked at it for parts, but the car was too interesting to use as a parts car. Okay, so now my police car. This was a propane car. It was used as a patrol car first, used by a sergeant. And then it was used as a traffic services car. So originally the roof was blue, or white. The doors were white. And of course it had the city insignias and everything on the doors and police. And it had a light bar on it with an antenna. And eventually it was repurposed as a traffic services car. At which point they removed the light bar, put a set of red lights in the rear window and a set of wigwags in the front of it. And finally it finished its career as a fleet services car, at which point it was painted as you see and the majority of the equipment was removed. Now, it was a propane car and it was a factory Chrysler conversion. And you can see where the roof was white and where everything was. You can see in the back window where it had its holes for the lights. And the interesting thing about this car is it was one of 3 of the City of Windsor's pilot cars for a prisoner partition cage. So it's kind of interesting car. Inside, of course, it's very Spartan. Rubber floors, cloth and vinyl buckets in the front. In the back, it has just the plain vinyl seats. It's kind of moldy from sitting, of course. And one of the ways to tell it's a police package car is they have a reinforced rear door striker, so you can't kick the door open. You can see from the factory, it had the wire package. So this runs down to the fuse block at the front. And you can see it's got its ticket lamp. Now, this has been a big thing of debate. Like I said, it is a factory propane conversion. Very popular in Canada in the mid to late 80s. Now, I got it. It's full of parts. Because over the years, I've collected up a lot of parts for my cars. But that's the original blue color that the car was painted. And will be painted again one day. Now, in addition to that, one of the other things that gets debated a lot with police package M bodies, Canadian cars did not have a certified speedometer. I shouldn't say that. They were certified, and there's a certification sheet that's inside my owner's manual. But on the face of the gauge, it did not say certified. Instead, it went to 200 kilometers an hour instead of 120 kilometers an hour like a civilian car. And as I mentioned, this was car 591. You can see its unit number is still in the door in vinyl. Oh, here's another thing. You'll see there's a hole in the pillar here. So that was used, they had a rear door lockout system with rods. So they'd press that and it would lock the rear doors. So when they had somebody in there, they couldn't get out. The car itself it's needy. It needs a frame rail in the front, which is why looks like it's ready for the short track. It needs fenders and it needs little things, but I have all of that stuff. As you can see, there's our propane sticker, and I'll put in a photo of one of these cars in service. Now the other telltale, it has the big 100 amp alternator on it. And if we go underneath it here, it's hard to tell, but it has an 8 1/4 rear end instead of a 7 1/4. And it has 11 by 2.5 inch rear brakes. And it's got the thick sway bars and, you know, all the good stuff. But that gives you a glimpse into the Mopar side of me. Like I said, unfortunately, my poor cars got booted out of storage. That's a long story in itself. Essentially, the guy had the house foreclosed on him, and he took all of our money and ran. So the property manager is who I had to deal with. He had to try and track us all down, those of us that owned cars that were there. So it was a big mess, and that's why there's no S10 video this week.
Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed that little glimpse into, well, I don't really want to call it a collection, but, you know, my group of cars that are currently awaiting their turn to come here into the shop. Anyway, thank you for watching, and hopefully we see you back again.